Hi everyone and welcome to the 14th episode of our free online tarot course series brought to you by 1millionnights.com. Now today's card needs no introduction because its main symbolism has been a subject that has always fascinated humankind from the most ancient times to the most modern times. And this is none other than the Death card, bearing the numerology of 4 as in 13. Its astrological correspondent is of course the sign of Scorpio, a part of the sky which rules transformation, it rules change, of course death and endings, but at the same time regeneration. And of course the modern ruling planet of this sign, Pluto, has also much to do with the Death card, because many times when the Death card pops up, that ending or transformation or maybe resurrection or revival of something which was left behind in the past is very much fated, or it comes in our lives as the result of a powerful karmic change that has been taking place with or sometimes without our express knowledge. For example, if we have a soul contract, let's say, and it is the other person who undergoes a profound transformation, nullifying the soul contract, let's say, then it is natural for that relationship to transform as well. It doesn't always have to come to an end, but to take on a totally different kind of expression. Now, before I start, I would just like to say a couple of things about the misinterpretations of this card. Well, naturally, on very, very rare occasions, the Death card does mean physical death, but this would very, very rarely pop up in any reading. And why? Well, because it is never in our greatest good to know the moment of death, either our own or anyone else's. So it is very unlikely for the divine intelligence, basically, regardless if we look at it as an exterior source of intelligence or it is just the power of our unconscious minds, it will never really tell us for no good reason, out of the blue, that either our own or someone else's death is approaching, except like very few circumstances when it is in our greatest good. For example, let's say that you received a birthday voucher for a bungee jumping or any other extreme sport, and you are asking the cards if you should actually use this voucher, go and try it out because you saw an advert or something on the internet which gives you this possibility, and the Death card and the Tower and a lot of, warning cards pop up in your reading. Well, then of course it will tell you that this occasion might not be the best because there is a true danger to it. So that might mean don't go. Or let's say that you have a really, really ill person in your family whose health is deteriorating very fast and the Death card keeps popping up. Well, that is very straightforward because even without the tarot reading, you will know the inevitable outcome. So it won't change anything really. But other than, some very special circumstances similar to these ones, it really won't mean physical death or death in the classic sense in any reading. So that is one of the first things you should actually eliminate. And another advice I would like to give is that never ever ask the cards or any other form of divination about the moment of your death or the circumstances of your death. So death should really be a taboo subject. Even if you are absolutely fine with death, even if you do not fear it, even if you are a very spiritual, knowledgeable and wise person who can handle anything, let's say, because you know that death is not the end. It is not annihilation, let's say. It doesn't really matter. This is a subject that no one should really ask, because it can really stir up certain strings, elements, hidden energies in our unconscious minds. And it doesn't matter who we are, how evolved, how mature, how wise we are. You know, the unconscious mind is still a mystery for everyone equally. So we shouldn't really be digging for certain kind of answers out of sheer curiosity, because knowing such a thing can simply not result from anything else. This is one of the mysteries of life, the mysteries of each and every person's life stories, which simply must not be revealed or basically known by our conscious minds. Of course, there are certain people who feel it, who know it, who had visions, who receives dates from the universe, either intuitively or in dreams or any other way. But that is a totally different thing, because it was the universe who communicated this, so it must have a reason for them personally. But this initiation of asking something like this should never ever come from us, because even if we think we can handle it, we really can't. So please take my advice and don't ask this question ever. Now, going back to the Death card, as I said earlier, its main meaning is transformation, because, you know, every transformation is also an ending, regardless if the essence remains untouched, let's say. It is still going from a state to another. So the initial state ends, it closes, it finishes. So that part is an ending. And very many times in life, you know, endings are always followed by new beginnings. So very many times, this is exactly what the Death card is telling us, that the time for something to change, to transform, to end is here, because something else will take its place, even if it's the same thing in essence transformed in a totally different form. And of course, as I said, this is one of those cards which represents a powerful karmic influence. So many times the need for transformation, why the Death card has to come in and bring this change, doesn't depend that much on our conscious choices and decisions, but many times it is simply either a karmic cycle which has to end, so it means that we have to rearrange all those things that we take on with us into the next cycle, even if they're not altered, even if they're not transformed. We still have to reintegrate them into our new sense of normality, so to speak. While of course other things have to be eliminated, so basically it is a transformation where something takes on the form of a memory, of a life experience, of a big lesson, but it's no longer active in our lives. It is no longer part of the present or the future. When something basically outlived its usefulness, it reached the final stage of evolution of what it has to be, what shape or form it has to take in someone's life. And when something reaches that final stage, well, that is the way, the shape and form it will take for its maximum usefulness. But after it expires, it has to be allowed to be purged out, or symbolically speaking, laid to rest. Many times this ending or this termination comes as a need to declutter our lives, because there are way too many active energies in there. So if something very important and fated has to enter our lives, so that means a new beginning or starting something new, but there is no room in our lives, in our minds, in our hearts, because everything new has to be fueled by both thought and emotion, sometimes that is when the death card appears, and certain endings will take place in order to make room for that fated new beginning to be able to manifest in our lives in such a way that it doesn't really harm us. Like, for example, when someone reaches a point in their life path when they have to do a specific activity, let's say, start a specific career which is part of their destinies, which is part of their journeys in this lifetime. Now, if that person is working something totally else in their present, and even if they love it, if they enjoy it, if they're totally comfortable with it, it still has to end or stop somehow, so that person can, one way or another, follow that which was fated for them. So that's why we should not really fear when this card pops up in any of our readings, because there is a divine logic to it. So even if the ending or this transformation process is unpleasant or maybe painful, or we might feel that we're not ready for it, it's always in our greatest good, so we shouldn't put up that much resistance. Speaking about resistance, this card becomes really controversial when it appears in reversed position. Now, some readers don't even have a reversed position for this card, and of course it's absolutely fine. You always have to use the methodology, the technique which resonates with you the most, even if it's something that you're inventing, you're making up yourself. Always allow your intuition to guide you. So this part is for people who do use the reversed meaning. And this is when the symbolism of this card can be a little bit tricky. As I said earlier, sometimes the death card does mean resurrection, revival, something which has been laid to rest, so to speak, returns in our life. It is reborn from its ashes like a phoenix. You know, another correlation to the sign of Scorpio and Pluto, of course. And when this happens, usually the death card appears in reversed position, but of course, sometimes it is optional. It depends on our choices if we accept it or not. But other times it is fated, especially when whatever the death card symbolizes has been laid to rest in the past, because we were not able to process it, to finish it, to, let's say, incorporate the lesson, etc. But we have changed, we have matured, we have gained more life experience, and now we are ready. So whatever that is being revived in our life, so we can process it, integrate it, or maybe use it in a very practical way. For example, let's say we have some very relevant skills, we're talented at something, and we tried in the past to make something out of it, but it didn't work. It wasn't fated back then. And all of a sudden, of course, times change, nothing stays the same. Maybe, for example, society or the local community or the culture is more receptive to that specific skill or talent. So as times changed, you now have the option to actually make something really good out of it, to use it in a very practical way where it can truly advantage you this time. But the decision is yours. The universe will give you the invitation, but if you choose to seize the opportunity and work with it, you are free to do so. But if you consider that it's no longer that important for you, or you outgrown it, or you're no longer passionate, then of course you can choose to leave it as it is. Regardless of what you choose, it won't matter as much. And this usually appears when we have certain skills or talents, or we're really good or powerful in something, and we inherited that from previous existence. So in this life, it just comes naturally But because we have already worked for our knowledge, for our mastery, know-how, experience, we sacrificed for the development of this skill in a previous life. So it is a blessing that we have already earned and achieved, which we may use or not in an active way in this current existence of ours. And whenever the death card reversed means resurrection, revival, regeneration, it is a really, really positive energy. So we should stay open-minded to whatever it is that the karmic forces revive and bring back into our lives, into our present from the distant past. Even when that thing might be, like a health problem, a financial problem, a trauma, or a psychological blockage, or something that we may have suffered. The reason it is being revived, recalled, is for us to fix it, or healing, regeneration is what is going to put those energies to rest. So, for example, if we have a long-term medical problem and it all of a sudden flares up, well, then you already know with the death reverse that the reason why it returned into your life in such a impactful manner is for you to heal it. So the next step is something really, really positive. It means regeneration, solving the problem, eliminating it from your life once and for all. So it's always good news. But of course, there are occasions when it is not good news, because it can represent a psychological energy, our own energy or our own mindset, when we oppose change, when we fight it, when we put up a resistance. So many times the death reversed represents our own attitude when we don't want to go through a transformation, when we don't want to go through a change, when our attachments or fears maybe are very, very strong, and these block out the karmic energies. Like, for example, when a fated relationship has already outlived its usefulness for both people involved, well, being attached and not letting go, not allowing things to reach their final stage is never positive, because it can turn sour, it can turn bitter, it can really be like a stone on our souls, on our hearts, pulling us down, when maybe the universe offers us a very quick, a very sudden but peaceful ending. But when this is the case, usually we kind of feel it. We kind of know this truth in our hearts that something is about to end, or something is no longer functioning. Something outlived its usefulness and the time has come for the change to take place. So usually the death card reversed comes as a confirmation that you should follow your heart. The truth, your own personal truth, lies in what you feel inside your heart, or what your instincts are telling you, because, Scorpio is a very, very instinctual, intuitive sign. So basically, what the death card in reverse position means, it really, really depends on what your intuitive senses are telling you, because when it appears this way, you already know it, you already thought about it, or you're already feeling it, so it's not really a mystery. It is always just like a confirmation that you kind of know already. Now in the following, we're going to take a look at the combinations of the death card with other tarot cards. And this is one of the easiest symbolisms to interpret, because, the death means change, transformation, and the other cards, the clarifiers, or even if the death card is the clarifier, will mark the subject, the nature of the transformation, change, or ending, or revival. So, for example, the death card with swords represents like a mental change, a change of mindset. It can represent an upgrade or elimination of a thought pattern or a way of thinking, an outlook which no longer serves us. or it can represent the end determination of a social connection, for example. Death with the Ace of Swords, well, it can mean an unexpected news, a communication which changes everything. Death with Three of Swords, death with Nine of Swords is a really positive combination because it means that the heartache, that the strong, heavy, negative feelings are going to be cast out, or they're going to stop, they're going to change. The Nine of Swords, the depression, the anxiety, the cause of worry, the cause of overthinking is finally going to sort itself out, eliminating this state from your life. Like the Death and Five of Swords, someone who has been deceiving you or being dishonest with you is gonna be revealed. So yes, many times the death takes on the symbolism of Pluto, so it is a truth, it is an information that you need to be confronted with. Or Death and Seven of Swords, it might reveal your own self-sabotaging thought patterns, or maybe someone else in your life sabotaging you without even knowing or without even wanting this. Death and Eight of Swords, something is going to set your mind free. Your mind will open up and your own perceptions about your limitations or things that keep you blocked might all of a sudden change, which leads to freedom, living your life without those. The Death and the Cups cards may mean a powerful emotional transformation or a purge, or psychological, emotional, spiritual healing. Some of it can be very intensely karmic. For example, Death and Ten of Cups may mean a big closure where you accept the past and finally move on. Death and Nine of Cups, you alchemize something negative that has happened to you and it becomes a source of pride and happiness, a symbol of your own personal emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. Death and Seven of Cups, maybe an old dream of yours is going to re-enter your life. It is going to be resurrected, so to speak, giving you the chance to finally accomplish it, live it, complete it. But in other cases, it can, for example, when there's also a Five of Swords there or Five of Cups, this dream is actually a personal illusion or something conditioned which returns into your life or revives inside of you, for example, inside your unconscious mind, not necessarily to be completed as in to reach the goal, but to be identified as an illusion, as something harmful like an obsession, to be eliminated and closed forever. The Death card along with the coins can represent a powerful material, physical, earthly transformation. Sometimes it means financial loss, for example, or maybe debt running out of control, so your minus is gonna be bigger than your plus. Other times it can mean, for example, Death card and the Seven of Coins reversed, that you're not going to harvest material goods, but rather experiences, which is like a bittersweet experience for some people, especially when you start out on a business and, you're in there for the experience, for the mastery, of course, but a financial reward should also be part of the deal, and if that part is missing, well, it's not gonna be a very positive experience, especially when the time when it happens. Maybe after years when we have the time to alchemize it and to see the greater meaning of it, it is going to be totally different. But of course there are times when it actually means the opposite. The Death card and the Seven of Coins in upright position and with another karmic card like the World card, let's say, may mean that something that we couldn't harvest in the past but have sacrificed for it is gonna return into our lives as a major blessing. Or a very positive combination, for example, the Death card and Ace of Coins reversed, or Five of Coins, even Five of Coins reversed. It may mean regeneration, end of hard times, end of financial struggle, and to an illness or poorly physical condition. So that can be a really, really good news. But of course it can also affect career or work or routines, especially when the Death card is combined with the Three of Coins or Eight of Coins. That can mean a transformation in your career, in your work. It doesn't necessarily have to mean an ending as in the termination of your job. It can many times mean the fact that you are going to occupy a different position, you're going to do or perform a different role. It can represent like an upgrade. For example, when the High Priest or the Emperor card is also there, it can mean that you're going to climb up the hierarchical ladder, a leadership position, a management position, so something really, really positive. Of course, with greater power comes greater responsibility. The Death card with the Wands cards, this can mean a powerful inner transformation, because the Wands usually symbolizes our inner Mars, our willpower, our ambition, our passion, our strongest desires, the sovereignty of our wills. So when that transforms, that usually means that a big external change is going to follow, because when our focus, when where we place our attention changes, well, everything changes. Sometimes it is really positive. For example, the Death card with the Five of Wands, it means that a conflict ends. Death card with the Seven of Wands, it means that our own personal struggle ends, regardless if it's like a conflict with another person or competition or whatever. Death card with the Two of Wands, the need to fight or the need to strive, the need to make a radical choice is going to end. So the subject might become something totally optional and not a need, not a necessity. We are not going to be forced to do it. The Death card and the Ten of Wands, now that is a really wonderful sign, because it might represent that our obstacles, our limitations, the cross that we have to bear is going to get that much lighter, or certain kind of freedom awaits us on a personal level. Now the Death card with one of the major arcana is very straightforward. Like for example, Death and Justice, it can mean a legal transformation, an end to a relationship, for example marriage, an end to a contract, an end to a partnership, or the transformation, it becomes legally something else than it was. Death and Lovers card, it may mean the transformation of a very strong, many times fated karmic relationship that we have. Death card and the Devil, an end to our strings attached kind of relationship, an end to an obligation, an end to our illusions, an end to feelings that keep us changed. Sometimes they're obsessive feelings, sometimes they're very strong goals and ambitions which we don't want to let go of. Death card and the World card, it means a karmic completion. Death card with the Moon, it can mean like a powerful fear that we have, which might become very magnetic, so it may be a warning sign. Or Death card with the High Priestess, something, an unconscious energy, an unconscious pattern is going to inevitably be playing out in our lives. The Death card with the Judgment card, for example, a radical transformation in our worldview, in our life philosophies. So I do hope that this was useful. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye for now.